I hate remakes. My grandfather hated them too, even before they butchered his favorite game. Did you think I'd be out here on YouTube without good reason? Yes, we need quality video games. No! We don't need unfinished, bastardized rehashes. So, that's why I'm here, posting on this channel, to remember what video games used to be. Reforged? That was a travesty. This war against nostalgia won't last long, and when it's done, who can you trust? This is all about power. Power in the market. Going down that road means dealing with all our rivals. Paradox, Microsoft, those Activision Blizzard sellouts, Warhammer and Saga titles too. After all, the one who makes a quality remaster rules the world. And one day, they'll remaster Medieval II, and that'll really show them. You know, when they told me years ago that they were gonna start to remaster all my favorite video games and re-release them all, I was super on board. They just conveniently left out the fact that they were gonna butcher almost every single one of them. Between being unfaithful to the original game, introducing a whole bunch of new bugs or glitches, predatory and malicious modern-day industry practices being shoehorned into a game of yesteryear, or the complete destruction of the original game in favor of its remastered disaster. It's safe to say I've become very skeptical and jaded of remastered video games. Thus, this leads me to the conundrum of the recently released remaster of Rome Total War, now known as Total War Rome Remastered. It's faithful to the original game in the way it looks and the way it plays, for the most part. It doesn't introduce a whole bunch of new bugs and glitches, for the most part. It doesn't make use of poor industry practices, for the most part. And the original game is forever preserved, at least for now, as it comes with your purchase of the remaster. And I won't lie, this is perhaps the most fun I've had with a Total War game that's newly released in quite some time. I'm sure a healthy portion of that enjoyment is nostalgia, or unhealthy, depending upon your definition, but I do feel as though there are design elements of these older games that are inherently good, and there are many features of these older games that I just sorely miss. Revisiting this game with a fresh coat of paint has, well, it's made me feel satisfied in a time in my life where most new games haven't really been doing that, so, you know, hats off. This game is Rome Total War, with all its strengths and all its weaknesses. I can directly manage the garrisons of my cities and build more than 6 buildings in each and every one of them. I can direct my troops and coordinate them logistically where I need them most, recruiting them where needed and sending them where needed without the need of a general. Battles are full of colorful and distinguishable units with great collision and weight, and the battles are fast and exciting. There's also terrible pathfinding, the same that was present in the original game. Units will do all sorts of weird things, especially in cities, taking the most bizarre routes to get to where they need to go. Entering a city through a wall breach or a gate is a fucking nightmare, as they continuously break formation and reform, blobbing together and ruining your phalanx. There are also definitely some new problems here, at least ones I've never seen before. For instance, I've watched as my entire army ran laps in a circle in order to attack a unit in the city center. I've had units move on their own without any orders in the oddest ways, and I've seen my archers continuously underperform in battles. Overall, it's a faithful recreation, though a bit messy, and I would hope the hidden fruit behind this old tree is that with a new cycle of support from the developers, many of these problems will be cleaned up and fine-tuned and finally fixed after all these years. The campaign is no different. It is Rome Total War. You have the option of playing with the original game's AI and features, or using remastered features, such as a new and much more aggressive AI, population tweaks, or the addition of merchant agents from Medieval II, though they've made them just a hair too convoluted than they actually needed to be. Each of these options and more can be toggled on and off before you start your campaign as you see fit, allowing you to customize your experience, and, well, I think this was a smart and well thought out approach to such a thing. All the factions from the original game are now playable and can be unlocked immediately, including previously unfinished and normally unplayable factions like the Thracians, which back in the day required you to do some text file editing in the original game. In the Barbarian Invasion Expansion Remaster, they've added the ability to play as emergent factions like the Romano-British and the Slavs, though it is still rough around the edges and I would like to see this even more refined by the developers or by modders. The UI for the campaign is, well, sort of terrible, though I'm getting used to it. My biggest gripe is the missing pictographs of the original game, which gave a beautiful visual reference of every statistic and modifier and where it was coming from. Instead, these things are presented all in numbered formats, a la the more modern Total Wars. Speaking of modern Total Wars, the UI is very reminiscent of the same UI that you would see in games like Warhammer and Troy, which I think was the wrong approach for this classic-styled game. One thing I don't like is that such a UI was never really designed with things like freedom of unit recruitment and construction in mind, so as a compromise, they've decided to hide the buttons for those things in the bottom right corner, and they're very easy to miss if you don't have a keen eye. I do like the new section for announcements. I find it to be well organized and easy to maintain, check, and read. However, I do miss the nostalgia of those little boxes that would fall down on the left side of the screen at the start of every turn. Everything else just seems to kind of fall into place, but be one or two too many clicks away than where it really needs to be, as you're shifting through multiple tabs to finally get to where you want, looking for a button to do a specific thing that isn't found where you used to find it. Also missing are the historical unit descriptions and fun facts about each unit that would appear alongside their statistics, which are not in the in-game wiki and, as far as I know, cannot be found elsewhere. As far as stability comes to mind, I personally have had zero issues running this game on Ultra with the largest unit sizes on just an NVIDIA GTX 1060, though I'm also not using the high-resolution graphics DLC for 4K textures. However, I have seen that others have noted that crashes can be a common occurrence. I have had a bit of frame rate stuttering, but only on truly massive battles with upwards of 10,000 units on the screen in custom battles. One thing I do have to be somewhat critical of is the decision by the developers to lock this game to Windows 10, making it unable to run at all on other Windows operating systems. While this doesn't personally affect me, I do feel as though this game could easily run on a Windows 7 or an 8, and that the choice to hard lock it to a particular operating system alienates a significant number of potential consumers and fans, and, well, I would like to see that reversed if possible. The game also takes up a very large amount of storage space compared to the original Rome Total War, somewhere within the vicinity of 40 gigabytes. Granted, Rome Total War was compressed and packed when installed, with the game unpacking and repacking files as needed while you played it. In fact, if you ever dabbled with modding the original game and unpacked your Rome Total War or even Medieval II, you were likely surprised as I was the first time to find out the game was much larger than you actually thought it was. Nevertheless, I do find myself missing the days when a computer game didn't deem itself totally necessary to take up significant chunks of my hard drive. File compression seems to quickly be becoming a lost art in the scope of the video game industry today, and well, it's too bad. Perhaps the most exciting and titillating prospect of Rome Remastered is the future instead of the past. Developers Feral Interactive has stated that they have a great interest in preserving the freedom of modding the game, making it accessible and more open than ever before. This includes increasing or even removing several hard-coded limitations of the original game, such as a maximum number of possible factions, units, map size, and regions that could be present. Only time will really tell if the community takes full advantage of that prospect, though as someone who's enjoyed the robust modding community of Rome 1 and Medieval 2 for nigh on 20 years now, I certainly hope they do, and that they help to elevate this game to the next level and truly make it shine. The original Rome Total War, Barbarian Invasion, and Alexander are all included with your purchase of the remaster. The remaster obviously includes a remastered version of each game as well. However, this is also now your only means to purchase those original games digitally, as they have been removed from Steam's storefront. I am grateful to see the original games preserved with their integrity and not suffer the same fate as Warcraft 3, but I can't help but feel this is a misstep. You, of course, are free to judge this and make your own conclusion how you feel about it, and whether that'll influence your purchase. It's not my job to tell you what to think. But overall for me, I think Rome Remastered is far better than I expected it to be, and is overall a quality and well done remaster of an old favorite of mine. The $30 price point may seem high for such an old game, though you can get a hefty discount at least right now if you already own the original on Steam. I've heard that that's going to go away in the near future, I think by the beginning of June. I personally think it's worth the time and investment if you can spare it to show developers that there is merit in producing quality and faithful remasters of older games, and also to encourage future support. Or perhaps this is merely a vain wish of mine that they might learn from these minor mistakes and give my favorite of the series, Medieval II, an even better quality remaster further down the line. And maybe just once I'm letting my pent-up cynicism escape me on this one. I suppose time will only really tell.